All right. Well, thank you, Yana. Thank you, Christopher, for joining and collaborating with this idea to bring financial empowerment and wealth consciousness to the people. And this was started with Yana and I talking about crypto, watching you with your Robinhood app, and just seeing the energy, feeling the energy behind all like the collective feeling excited about crypto. So I thought we could start with what is going on, like from the beginning. Maybe you could share a bit about GameStop, AMC, Reddit, what all occurred
Okay.
that sort of opens up this flood of energy.
Cool. First, I want to thank everyone watching live. I want to thank both Yana and Rachel for welcoming me into your sacred union. I appreciate the space that you're allowing me to have. Um, just following the breadcrumbs. So, quick brief. I did study finance in college, so I do have a financial background. I just want to kind of lay that out there. So what happened last week? We saw the entire economy tank over a week. And what caused that to happen? Hysteria over a group of people that came together as one. And that group of people was Reddit. And this Reddit community, it's like the beginning to head into the dark web. So, like, Reddit already has people who are seeking something, anything. So there's these groups on Reddit. Rachel mentioned I use Robinhood for my trading platform because it's free, and like I'm going to take advantage of free, but be aware of how these companies transform their guidelines and terms and conditions. So there's like Robinhood groups. There's this group called Wall Street Bets. There's this group called Penny Stocks, and these are a group of individuals like you and I who join together and talk. Like, where do we want to spend our money? Where do we want to put our money? Like on these groups, someone be like, "Oh, this chart looks good. You should check out. You should check out." I guess we'll just stick with GameStop, for instance. So GameStop, check out GameStop. The chart, it looks like people are shorting it.
So
So
what does that mean?
thank you. So what is a short? A short is when you think like say your stock price that say the stock price for a company as like GameStop. This is not the correct pricing, but just for example, GameStop's price is at $10. You have financiers in all these major banks analyzing companies. So they look at GameStop and be like, "Oh, that's a failing company. Why people are going away from brick and mortar? People are moving this." I believe that in X amount of days, that stock is going to reach $6. So a short is leveraging that it's going to go lower and saying that it's going to go lower. So these beautiful humans who are on the internet play video games. Like we play video games, and whoever's looking around is seeing, wait a second, we have financiers, and this happens everywhere. We have financiers saying this company's going to go out of business. They're leveraging that their market capitalization because when you buy a share of a stock, that creates the market cap, that creates the valuation of the company. So let's say there's 10 stocks for $10. We're now at $100. The company's worth 100, but these people are saying this company's only going to be worth 60. So they buy shorts, hoping that that price reaches $6 a share over the next coming day. So there's a strike date. Let's just say we'll use March 1st. I believe it's going to hit $6 by March 1st. If it doesn't hit $6, they have to cover their losses. And typically what happens when they want to cover their losses, they start to buy the shares back from that company. So what was going on was people in Reddit saw that there was a huge short percentage. So they're like, well, fuck that. Like, let's all buy shares and drive up the price. So as they drive up the price, these hedge fund managers are knowing that their strike is their short positions coming up and they're going to have to pay for it. And that's how you saw this inflation. You saw the market cap of GameStop go from like it just increased 400, 500% because people just kept putting money into it. Was that truly what its market capitalization is? No, it was inflated by the moment. And like their true market capitalization was where that share price was at. What messes everything up is when people think these companies are going to fail. Same thing happened with AMC.
Or bet on them.
Yeah, bet on them to
Bet
fail.
on their failure.
Yeah, bet on their failure. So you saw everyone flood all their money into these GameStops and AMC. These hedge funds are now losing billions of dollars, and those billions of dollars are being transferred into that GameStop account. So they're now spending their money on this GameStop account to recoup their losses. As the price is going up, people then start to take the profits, and they're taking the profits away from these hedge funds.
From the hedge funds.
So that is transference of wealth.
Yes.
Because you caught them at their own game. That, and now notice like they're trying to get bailouts. And people are being awakened to the idea that, wait a second, hedge fund managers are asking for bailouts for money that they're betting and gambling with.
Gets you thinking.
Mm-hmm.
No, like honestly, I've been, how do I put it in the nicest way possible? My intuition has always told me stock market is one of the most dangerous gambling games because there's something going on there that behind closed doors that we don't know about. It's like a scam. That's kind of like how it was making me feel. I even have a stock market for dummies. This book right here, you probably can't see it. I started reading it and I'm like, oh, no. And for me, it's more now into crypto. That I understand a little bit more. And I know that's what we were talking about on Monday as well. I'm curious, what is your understanding with crypto versus the stock market?
So cryptocurrency, there's a few different types of cryptocurrencies out there.
There's actually a lot I noticed.
Yep.
Like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a balance because like cryptocurrencies, they're unregulated, but you can follow coins.
Mm-hmm.
Each coin has its serial number. So you know the life of the coin when you start to spend it.
It's better than cash because you never know where it's been. I used to work at the bank, so we always said the dirtiest thing in the world is money because you don't know where it's been.
Yep. And then like, so Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're some of the major players in this. And there are differences between Ethereum and Bitcoin, where Ethereum has like contract. It has an own contract that goes with it when you use it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, in my opinion, that contract kind of screams a little bit more transparency to what's going on. And then Bitcoin is just a free for all. But what we can see now is, and what we have to be careful of with these cryptos are the whales, the people who have been in this since the jump. These are these are our hedge fund managers. These whales who own the pot can seriously control where the price goes.
So how do we navigate?
It almost sounds very similar to stocks in a way, because they can control the stock market prices, they can control the cryptocurrency prices. But which one is safer, if you will?
I think that's up to the beholder, really. Like, it depends on where we see the society moving. Like, do we think that cash is going to be the future? Or do we think that crypto is going to be the future?
Yeah.
Or like, so there's that one aspect. Then it's like the idea of voting with your dollar. So we can change the world by investing in companies that change the world. So I have a portfolio, like my stock portfolio, I own solar companies. And that money is not going to oil now. It's going to solar companies. So really, like, it really depends on what your objective, and what's your intention behind doing something. It's the same thing. Like, for instance, we've been on the Doge train, like the Doge crypto coin, the crypto coin for the people. I believe in it. I believe like this could be the change for the future, but I also understand there are whales in it that are manipulating the price and keeping it within a channel. So like, how do I balance supporting it while also taking advantage of being able to make money for myself? Because I see the patterns that the whales are doing.
I love that. I mean, you've heard me all along, like my support of Doge, it's had nothing to do with money. I get caught up in the revolution. And so like I was so excited about this movement that began in Reddit. And actually I'd love to share something that it's a comment that one of my friends posted. And Yana, this is a friend who has been through a lot of being, understands energy very well. And so Steve, if you're watching, I hope it's okay that I'm sharing your comment. It's just so great. And he wrote, what happened with GameStop was not a revolution of magnanimous proportions. It was literally a small group of people that simply said, how about no? That simple act empowered the collective far more than nationwide protests and violence, didn't it? So I just loved that. And really, that's where my energy has been with Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Like, this is a revolution. Like, I'll put whatever money I got at this. Like, and it's not about making money. For me, it's about making a statement.
Yeah.
So there is definitely a balance. So I appreciate that you're like, well, I'm gonna make money too.
Somebody wants to, right?
Yeah, somebody has to.
Like, it's the balance. It's like, why can't we make money off of this at the same time? Like, of all these people are making money, like, why can't we?
Why not us?
See, that's exactly what we were talking about on Monday. To sum it up, the power has been in the wrong hands for way too long, and it has been taken away from people. And the 1%ers are hoarding it all for themselves instead of going out there and looking of what not necessarily needs to be fixed, but who needs to help, who needs to support. Because people that are, the way that I see people is people that are addicts, living in the street, in prison, in jail. those are the most creative people that were never ever given the right outlet to express their curiosity, to express their creativity, and it starts at a young age.
Mhm.
So then they turn to the other things that take their mind off themselves because they, up until that point, did not believe they were good enough. So why can't the big kahunas, that's what I call them, you guys call them whales, I call them big kahunas. Why can the big kahunas go and spend the time with these children, because we're all children, no matter how old we are. We're all children, and help the child to, most important thing is feel that they are loved, that they are lovable, help them to believe, because once they believe that, they're able to contribute to the society in the way that they expect.
Mhm.
But if the power is in the right hands, again, I don't like the right and wrong, but this is, the world is black and white. They don't like the gray area. So since we are in the world of black and white, let the white, the right side, have control for a little while and see what happens in the world, because the changes that will, like, the law of being comes to mind. If everyone spoke the language of the energy,
Mhm.
how different do you guys think the world would be?
Mhm.
I love thank you for bringing this up, because I see those the most vulnerable people as like seeds for great potential. And ever since going through IPAC, learning about energy, and realizing, understanding that greed is just a mindset. It's not who someone is.
Yeah.
It's just a
Mhm.
mindset. It's just an energy level. So we the three of us know that when we're speaking energy levels, greed is level 2 and control is level 3. And this whole time, I've had belief that there's no reason that the big kahunas, that the whales wouldn't have a heart opening, wouldn't expand into levels 4, 5, and 6, where level 6, the mindset of money is to be shared by all, because it's energy is to be shared by all. So with this kind of work, like the way I see it is, just like in relationships with someone who, for lack of a better term, is an energy vampire, someone who's hoarding energy in a relationship. They're not going to stop because they're getting what they want. The only time they stop is when we set a boundary and say, this is my energy. You can go generate your own energy that has nothing to do with me. And so collectively, I see this amazing opportunity for us to set a boundary with the 1% and say, we're not going to participate anymore. We're not going to continue giving you our energy. We're going to reclaim it, take it back, and then they'll have no choice but to figure out something else, which is usually growth.
I like how you brought the boundary into that. Because that's what it is. When you were also saying with the Dogecoin, they just said, no. How about no?
Yep.
That's a clear boundary. And for those that are watching, no is a complete sentence when it comes to boundaries, which means when you say no, that's it. You don't need to go into the detailed explanation because you don't need to. No is a complete sentence.
Thank you. I needed that so
we both
fucking
needed
much.
that.
It's so difficult for us empaths, for us people pleasers, to not follow up with an explanation, with let me make the no a little gentler and a little softer, because more, what happens more often, if you guys pay attention to when you say no and it follows the explanation, is that people don't necessarily hear the no, they hear the explanation and they see, oh, this is a problem I can help you fix. So when you say, for example, no, I can't, because my kids, I have my kids, I can't go. Well, you can bring your kids.
Mm-hmm.
then you could have just said no, and that's it, or no, I don't want to,
Yep.
and that's it. But if you give an explanation, and people don't particularly hear the no, because then they see, okay, you're saying no because you need help to solve this problem. So let me help you solve that problem for you. So no is a complete sentence. That's it.
Mhm. Yep. And we are not responsible for the interpretations on the other end of the boundary. That's on the person with whom we set the boundary. Their interpretations are their responsibility. So
Mhm.
that's what I see us as a collective doing
Mhm.
with um, with the paradigm
Yeah.
of that was created by the wealth,
Mhm.
the gap.
Yeah, it's exposing the patterns further. Look what happened in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Our entire economy collapsed because the financiers of the world were leveraging the poor, and they were creating a casino within mortgages. And then they were selling these mortgages because they knew they were going to default. So they're selling default mortgages to people who are going to then collect them, all the while pushing on these applications to people and getting legislation written to allow homes to become more available to others,
Mm-hmm.
but not really realizing that this money was being put into a fund that was making money off of us. So the moment it all started to catch up, people were defaulting, it all collapsed.
Yeah.
And
And then what did the government do?
bailed them out. And what happened throughout this time? There was somebody expressing that this was about to happen.
Yep.
This was going to happen. If you keep doing this, this is going to happen. But for some reason, it didn't matter because the Industrial Revolution was built off of taking the energy away from the
Yeah.
weak. So now we have 2008, 2009, the economy collapses. Technology is still on its newer side, like it's 10 years in from the millennium, like that big explosion. So we're not connected like we are now. What does everyone do? They occupy Wall Street.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, these people is money and they don't care about the people. So like the Occupy Wall Street movement works and brings energy to something, but it doesn't get at the root of money and how these people see us as a commodity. So us yelling and chanting doesn't fucking matter.
No.
10 years later, we now are all connected. And we go further into it, like not only mortgages, but we see that these companies are trying to take out the companies we actually like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
we now can connect and talk about it. Like we have means to talk about it and come together and create our own hedge fund of
Yeah.
autonomy.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I've also got to say, in 2008, just thinking back to where I was then, I was fresh out of college. So the millennials were way younger. I'm one of the older millennials.
Me too.
And yeah, Chris is one of the younger millennials. Well, you're
I'm
in the middle. You're in the middle.
I'm in the middle.
But yeah, so we were actually talking with our friend Tyler yesterday about how the millennials are uniquely compassionate and uniquely charitable. And I was explaining back when I was in at my commercial real estate job, the managing partners were seeing this pattern of young millennials coming into the company, working about 6 months, and then building their resume and then leaving for a startup or something more fun, more exciting, with more potential to be a shareholder. Because
Mhm.
working your way up at a company for your whole life just to try to make it to shareholding status doesn't appeal to millennials. So, anyways, while I was at that company and we were witnessing these patterns, my friend at the company, Kirsten, and I were assigned to the Millennial Task Force, and it was our job to figure out in that task force how to retain millennial talent. And so I was going deep into millennial research, millennials in the workplace. And in that research, I was reading this article and it said that millennials are the most charitable generation. And it said something like, if a millennial has $5, they'll give four to charity. And that just hit. And so now, um, years later, so we were really young during the Great Recession and pretty helpless because of
Mhm.
it,
Mhm.
because we were still trusting the adults
Mhm.
and their decisions. And so now 10 years later, we are the adults. We have reparented our inner children
Mhm.
to develop wealth consciousness. We know that wealth is deeply tied to, and money is deeply tied to self worth, because enough money helps us to be more ourselves. When we can remove the burden of scarcity from our shoulders, we can breathe. We
Mhm.
can
Yeah.
we can breathe, we can be, we can play, we can laugh, we can create.
Mhm.
So now, I something that I love about this generation is our compassion and empathy. We love one another, and we believe in the power of a small group. And we've watched it. We've watched how the small group creates a ripple effect,
Mhm.
and it's effective. And so now, um, seeing the what the groups in Reddit have been doing, I mean, I'm making the assumption that it's a bunch of really, a bunch of millennials, because
Yeah.
I can't imagine like baby boomers in Reddit. Um, so now, yeah, it's really our generation is healing. We're collectively healing our money stories.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, because they've been, I don't want to say damaged, but they have been affected. The money stories have been affected
Mhm.
for many, 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 many years. And
Mhm.
a lot of us older millennials are still carrying those damaged money stories that are not serving us. And our money story comes in many different shapes and forms. Even, for example, when we are looking, social media, everyone has access to it, right? Pretty much everyone. When you scroll through social media and you pause at an image, let's say, of a woman or a man and have a gorgeous house in the background, they have a car and everything, and you pause and say, oh, I wish I had that. That right there is a red flag saying that you're creating lack,
Mhm.
which means that you're just saying to yourself and to the universe that you don't believe that you have it in you to have that, which is a money story, and which is, it may be true, but it is not the truth, because if they're able to have it, guess what, anyone can. It's just a matter of a mindset. That's what everything really comes back to. Everything that we are, the secret, okay, all about really the mindset and believing. If you believe it, you can achieve it, you can create it, you can end up seeing it in front of you.
Mhm.
And that's what we are doing here, is helping. That's my understanding of Finance Fridays, is that we're here to help people to, one way or another, there's so many different ways to shift that story that keeps replaying in the mind, and recognize how we are all creating lack of wealth,
Mhm.
and how we can shift it around into building that abundance that we want.
Mhm.
Thank you for bringing it back to that mindset, because there's this illusion that's widespread that money is evil, or money is the root of all evil. And so hearing you speak, it's neutralizing that, and
Mhm.
reminding us that money is not neither good nor evil. It just is.
Mhm.
It's just the currency. It's our attachment to it, our judgment of it that's going to determine whether we attract it or repel it. So if we're looking at the one percenters, I mean, their mindsets may be unhealthy, but if we're looking at the money as the problem, then why would the money trust us? Why would it come to us? So if when we heal our money stories, we start healing that story that we tell ourselves about money. So it's no longer evil, and instead it's a something that can help us to be more ourselves, help us pay for our Zoom account.
Yeah.
A person who really helped me along this wealth consciousness journey to like open up my mind that money is much more than money was Deepak Chopra. He explains money as a currency.
Yeah.
Money as an energetic exchange. So like, look at what we're doing now. We are creating something. We are creating energy. We are creating a current between us. Money makes up for the current that doesn't like, we don't need the money in this current. We're good. If this was like a one-on-one with somebody and we're offering our services and they can't necessarily meet us where we're at, then money as a currency comes in to level set, to get us at the same area. It has nothing to do with like greed or what's good and bad. It's just a current. And that current allows everything to open up. The more energy we bring in, the more energy we put out, and the higher vibrational things that'll come in return for it. So like taking care of yourself in its fullest helps you to be able to maintain funds and money. Like if you can't maintain a few bucks, like what the hell's gonna happen once you get the big mother load? Like years ago, my grandfather gifted me $30,000 and I spent it all within 10 minutes because it went to school. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, didn't realize like that's $30,001 bills. And I wasn't thinking, I just like set it out the door where it would have made more sense for me to hold on to that cash, leverage my life with that cash, live off the loans that was already being forced down my throat. So like I already lost by giving away my energy, giving away my autonomy in that currency. Yeah, so like I know like we had someone, Rob, mentioned something on here. Do we want to have the space for that now, or do we want to continue?
Well,
on?
I just want to make one more comment about that like autonomy. I don't think it's a big secret that this system we've all been unconsciously perpetuating is one of indentured servitude. So when that was revealed to me, I was working in a job where I had a 6-figure salary. And I remember my dad asking me, how do you never have money? Like, how are you always so broke? You make so much money. And I was like, I don't know. What am I spending my money on? So I was spending $2,100 a month on rent in Boston. I was spending at least $100 on booze every Friday night. I don't know the rest of the week, but probably a lot. I was spending at least $20 on lunch every day, downstairs from the office, and
Coffee?
I was spending,
Coffee?
Oh yes, my Starbucks run.
Like this, I used to help people at the banks. Like, okay, how much money are you spending on coffee? You can put that in the savings account automatically instead of buying coffee. And then in a year, you look at it and go, oh my God, I can go on vacation.
Yes.
Yep. And I was spending a lot. I was going to at least three live concerts a night, and they were expensive ones at House of Blues.
Wow.
So when I thought about it all, I got to the root. Like, what am I doing? Why is it never enough? And I realized that I was trying to use money to fill a void. And that void, I didn't recognize it until I began some chakra work and unblocked my root chakra first, and then started understanding the gift of creativity and that we are all here to create and co-create with one another. And then that's where I realized I was filling the void. We all have this infinite creative potential. And it's that you tapping into my creative potential, finding my creative avenues began filling that void. And I no longer was idealizing anything outside of myself. So I was no longer idealizing my favorite band, still loved their music, but I had the thought, why do I keep giving them money when I'm also creative? I'm no less talented than they are. They're just a reflection of what's already within me. So I could redirect the funds into my growth and begin filling that void. And now, to be honest, my checking account's currently in the negatives. However, I am happier than I've ever been in my entire life, like bliss state on the daily, because I am creating from following the muse. I am connected with the muse. So going back to indentured servitude, that's how indentured servitude is created, by filling that void and dangling these carrots, the insurance benefits, 401ks, 2 paid vacations a year. And then and in my workplace, as millennials were becoming more tricky to control, they we have our can't control us, but
That's the key word, control.
we're becoming difficult to control, difficult to predict, because those patterns of indentured servitude were no longer working. And why would they? We were told you can be whatever you want when you grow up. So why would we then, I highly doubt that any soul came to planet Earth to work in a, Fortune 500 company. Like, no soul. It's like, that's, when we're kids and they ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? No one's like, I want to be a hedge fund manager.
Yeah. Honestly,
go ahead, Yana.
What I keep hearing through this conversation with jobs and the big kahunas is, and this is something that's been replaying in my mind ever since Monday, almost nonstop, modern day slavery. You have a group of people who are controlling everyone. Now they have social media to do that. Like, there's so many shows on Netflix, on YouTube. You can find out how they're collecting and gathering all the kinds of information, everything that we put out there. They know us a lot better than we know ourselves, right? And then how do you get a slave to do what you want them to do without knowing that you're the one that put that seed in their mind? Leverage social media.
That, and what keeps ringing in my mind is every day on the news, we're going to flash the national debt. We're going to flash the national debt, which none of us have anything to do with.
Yeah. And that adds to the person's message that they have debt themselves. Here's one thing that I have. I love reframing, because that's to me, that's medicine. So pretty much everyone I know has debt. And the way that I started looking at debt is, that's my education, right? That's not my debt. That's my education fund and my student loan, if you will. I don't have any student loans. I've paid for school out of my pocket when I worked two jobs and then paid for school out of my pocket, right? For 1 year, I went to business administration school. And reframing it in a way, not looking at it as debt, because that means that we owe something to someone, and it feels really heavy. But if we look at it as, this is what my school cost me, because guess what, this is a school of life. We've learned so much having gone into this I don't, the debt still comes in there because this is how we've been programmed to look at it, right? How we've been programmed to think about it. But this school education fund, we've spent many years contributing to it. But instead of seeing a minus in front of it, why not see a plus? Two minuses. One goes vertically, one goes
Yeah.
horizontally, and you have a plus. So when you see a plus in front of it, it just starts to, the way I see it, it just allows the flow to come in, for the money to come in. And you don't need to know where it's coming from. You don't, because it's gonna come in from different ways. And sometimes it might come in a form of monopoly money, just because I one day I found little $500 bill monopoly money on my garden in the farm. I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome. I'm so happy, so proud. And then after that, money started to come in because I started to believe. And that's when I started to reframe the whole mindset around debt and not
Mhm.
using that word, because it has so much negative stigma to it.
Mhm.
Um,
That feels, yeah. It like gets my adrenaline going,
Yeah.
stress. Like when I think of debt, student loans, when I think of credit card debt, like all the debt that I had that kept me in the indentured servitude,
Mhm.
that nobody taught me. When I was told, I was advised by my dad when I was in college to open up a credit card. And his reasoning was to build good credit. And I was like, free money.
yeah,
uh,
I've had a lot of students do that, and then they come in and they declare bankruptcy
Mhm.
at 21 years of age. Why? Because nobody explained to them
Mhm.
mhm.
what a credit card's purpose is.
Yep, it really was not explained to me. And then when I ended up, um, so then I was in this cycle of using credit cards when I didn't have the money, and then paying it off as soon as my bonus would come through. So I never really had money. I was working to pay off the debt. And then when I finally left my job, I was just like, kind of like, I don't really care. I don't
Mhm.
care about the debt. It's not real. I don't care about my student loans. They're not real. What are they going to do? Put me in prison? Fine. Like, you know what are they really going to do? That's
Yeah.
going to, like, I believe in myself and I believe in my ability to create wealth for myself. If I just give myself the time
Mhm.
to uncover whatever my soul mission is. And indentured servitude works because it doesn't give us time. There's always a sense of urgency to make money, paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And I love that you brought up reframing, and it brought to mind a beautiful example of reframing talent in the more vulnerable communities.
Mhm.
And I'll share with you an example. When I was right when I left my job, I wanted to give back to the same communities that my job in, impacted the most. So in commercial real estate, I was basically just there to make sure the developers could do whatever they wanted to do. So in Boston, that meant kicking long-term residents out of their homes and building commercial condos or commercial apartments. And so I had this tremendous guilt and shame that that's what I was doing. So afterwards, I began volunteering in this program. It's called the Build program, and I was mentoring ninth graders in a high school in the Dorchester neighborhood of Boston. And I was learning so much from these kids, these 14-year-olds. One that I got really close with, like he and I bonded right away. We were both sensitive and he understood my quiet style. So he would just like seek me out and open up to me. He I asked him in our orientation, we went around and asked, what's your motivation? You know, what's your inspiration for doing the build program? And he was like, I just want to help my mom. He was like, my mom works 3 jobs and sends most of the money back to our family in Haiti. And then he told me straight up, he was like, gang recruitment is really strong and it's really appealing. And he was
Yeah.
like, but I thought long term, what's going to help my mom the most? Becoming an entrepreneur. Oh, I forgot to mention the build program helps young kids to become entrepreneurs. So they're starting businesses at 14 years old. And in these neighborhoods, in the most
Oh,
vulnerable neighborhoods where gang recruitment is sky high, and gang recruitment preys on desperation. And this little
yeah.
boy, I say he was like so small. I loved him. Oh, I still do. He just wanted to help his mom. So, and when you think about that, like a young boy watching his mom work 3 jobs, like, yeah, gang recruitment is going to be appealing. That is love.
Yeah.
That's love. Nobody, no son wants to see their mom struggle. So, I was talking about it with this teacher, and she just straight up, she's like, she's like, gangsters make the best salesmen. I was like, hey,
They
that,
do.
that is an awesome reframe.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing through that program. They're regenerating. They're mitigating desperation and mitigating violence by saying, yeah, we see your entrepreneurial spirit. We're not going to judge the entrepreneurial spirit of a gang as bad or wrong. It's going to give you another option.
It's like true, like the other option, and like I would love to just. There's a few things running on my mind. Like I want to give something to anyone watching. Like, what can we do now, like for
Yeah.
ourselves? What can we do now for ourselves to move forward? Next week I have an idea if you guys are up for it, but I would love to share like a snowball payment schedule. It's like how to get out of debt and what we can do to get out of debt. I can create like an Excel sheet, I can just show it and just to give a technique for us, just like how to do it. And pretty much the snowball is you start at your highest percentage interest and you work your way down.
Yeah.
So like these basic things can really help us. So I'd love to take the time next week to do that.
Yeah.
And we did have a comment on the video about like, what's a safe place to invest right now? And
Yourself.
yes, yes, yes. And, you know, I wanted to offer this quote from Benjamin Graham, who was an American economist. The investor's chief problem and even his worst enemy is likely to be himself.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is likely to be himself. So when we are looking to invest our money, invest our energy, know if it's coming from truth and if your feet are firm when you do it. Because that is going to be the tell right away. Invest in yourself first. That'll help you to get wherever it is you're looking to go. And then also, how can you create passive income streams? Because passive income streams will help to nourish you.
Yeah.
As you focus on yourself, that passive income stream could turn into course creation, like something we're doing now. We have invested in ourselves so much that we can create this. That's why we're creating value and we're creating wealth by having this conversation. So that's one way to begin investing. Another way, like if you actually want to go the route of investing your money into the stock market, I'm a firm believer in dividend stocks. Dividend stocks especially monthly dividend. They pay you for investing in them. They pay you some of their profit shares for investing in them. And you can find dividend stocks that have remained stable for the last 20, 25 years in price. And that's what I'm looking for. So there's a few dividend stocks. I think I own 5 different dividend stocks. And their percentage yield is between 8 and 10% a month. So I invest into them, and each month they're paying me. So you can look, so this is how I view it. I set up the dividend stocks, they're paying me. In essence, that's paying for bills. So like I know it's paying for bills, but it's paying for bills in that it's being reinvested into it. So it's growing. And any of the money I have now is going towards the bill. Yes. But my mind has it framed that it's going into the investment portfolio because the investment portfolio is paying for the bill. And I start with dividend stocks. I began with dividend stocks. Dividend stocks is something that it's expressed that as you become older in the investment timeline, that's when you're going to want to minimize your risk. Because like if you're younger, you can bring on more risk. If you're older, you want less risk. And finding a stable dividend stock that's in alignment with your truth.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just search like what it is that you're looking for. Like I don't ever give financial advice. It's not my money, it's not my place. But what I can do is share with you how I feel when I invest. And how I feel when I move towards this stuff. And every time I've moved towards dividends, and the moment I learned it years ago, I was like, this is how I want to start my portfolio with dividends and then work itself around the safety.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you brought up how you feel because Yana, I know you when you invested in Ethereum, you were like, I don't want to learn. I don't want to spend the time learning. I just want to do. And I think that's where a lot of us, that resonated a lot with me. Like I'm not gonna go back to school, learn how to do any stock market stuff. I mean, I learned a lot from you. I think we all are right now, so thank you.
Yeah.
But that was like, you trusted your gut. You learned just enough information that I obviously want you to speak for yourself on this, but for me, it sounded like you learned just enough information that your gut was like, yeah, this checks out.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. It's like, just a little bit of like a story why this time when I was introduced to this opportunity back in October to invest in Ethereum and the platforms that are available through Ethereum. It reminded me that about 3 years prior to that, when an opportunity came to me to invest in Bitcoin, and the initial investment was $4,000, I was like, oh my God, are you crazy? Like, who has $4,000 to put into something that is so new and not many people know about because Bitcoin was one of the first, right? And then when this came to me and I watched it grow, I don't want to say I kicked myself in the ass for saying no to Bitcoin because I wasn't in the place to do that. Right. And then when the Ethereum came, and I instantly intuitively knew that there was a lot to it. And then I had dreams. You guys know me and my crazy dreams. And I wake up and I would interpret my dream. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. So I get my answers through dreams as well. So I hopped on, and here's this is where I love my intuition. So when I hopped on and I bought my Ethereum, the next day it doubled in price.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh my God, see, I knew I needed to get it today before I decided to what fully to do with it. I knew I was getting it regardless. And then I would figure out which platform to use. And now I have 2 different platforms that I use Ethereum on. And one of them I I favor more because I see growth every single day. And the growth that I see is in the actual Ethereum itself. So so it's an interest that I get every single day, 1.4% daily, and I get that interest in Ethereum itself. So it's not cash, it's not dividends, it's Ethereum. So I've only put in $800 into it, and of course the value of Ethereum has gone up, and I only got 1.7 Ethereum, whereas now I am close to just over 3 in 2 different platforms, and it keeps growing itself. So the coin itself keeps growing. And to me, that makes more sense.
Yep.
Because the value of a dollar doesn't change, but the value of a coin does. And right now I can check if you want me to check how much Ethereum is, but I know like yesterday, Canadian, it was over $2,000 for one.
Yep, it's up to 1,700. My
US.
Yeah, 1,700 US. So I own 2 coins, and I saw that it rose, and my gut was like, oh, you should just play this. So I sold, and it continued to go. I sold out I sold at 1430, and I'm like, fuck, because today it's at 1,700. So like sometimes you hit it and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Like the Dogecoin, I had a similar experience. I woke up one morning, I'm like, oh, I need to diversify more. So I bought 35,000 coins of Doge when it was at like 0.008. 3 days later was when it skyrocketed to 8 cents. I was like,
And Ethereum right now, they're predicting that by the end of 2021, each one Ethereum will be worth $5,000.
Yep.
Right? So I'm holding on to mine.
Hold.
And I keep watching it every day. And this is where it really helps my wealth mindset, where I go in there and I see that I got 0.05 Ethereum on one day.
Yeah, you set yourself up with an annuity.
Yeah.
You set yourself up with a dividend. You set yourself up with passive income that gets reinvested so it continues to grow. Like, reinvest this stuff so it continues to grow. Like, it's real money that we're getting, but it's also like fake and casino money that we're getting too.
Mm-hmm.
So like, that's why I like being in truth and knowing and being firm. So like, you keep putting the money into it. Like, I have this investment thought. I don't like to buy stocks and sell it, like day trading it. I like, when I buy a stock, I'm like, is it going to be worth $1 more next year than it is today? $1. That's it. If I believe it's going to be worth $1, I'm going to get into it and stay with it and ride the wave, because I know it's just cyclicality. And I know that my whole goal was just to gain $1. And not to get lost in the euphoria of it maybe going up and then maybe going down. It's like, well, I just want to get $1.
I love that you use the word euphoria, because it is an addiction, like the day trading. Like, the first thing I asked you this morning was, how's the Doge doing today? It's like, it's addictive watching it.
Buy fear, sell euphoria.
Yes, that's a great way of looking at it. And I will take whatever you just said. When you are selling when you're selling euphoria, right? When you go and spend money, you go to a store, what is the first reaction that people have when they're actually paying for it? Typically, it's a negative one.
Yeah.
If you switch that around, just keep trying. At first, it's going to feel so weird and so awkward to experience happiness and joy and euphoria when you are spending money. But what you're actually doing is you're not just spending money, you're putting money in the hands of people that need it. Yes, of course, some that don't, but most that need it because you're paying for people that are working there. That's why I refuse to go to self-checkout because I don't agree with it. I understand it,
Yeah.
but I don't agree with it. Once people are able to create their own wealth by themselves from home, then I will agree with it. But for now,
Right.
everyone needs time to adjust, right?
Yep.
So spending money and feeling happiness and joy and being proud that you can afford it, that
Mhm.
is what opens up the floodgates.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really, really, really does. And when you were talking about the dividends, I had to even look at my notes because this other company that I invested in, but right now they're fixing their platform. Remember that they were mentioning that you invest in them and you get dividends back, plus your crypto that you invest in grows as well. Um, yeah, so that's what they do, and it's a brand new company. And what they're doing is they're building a decentralized AI system,
Mm.
and they are um, I forgot what what the company's called. Let me see if it's on here. Um, I can't remember right now at the moment. Endotech. There you go. So I don't know if you guys heard of Endotech. So they're the ones that are building, and they're not going to be sharing this with anyone. So it's just they're the ones that have the rights to the decentralized AI system. And when we were talking in the beginning, how volatile the stock market is and how human emotions have a lot to do with it. If you take the human emotion out and you allow an AI run in the background and pretty much manage your stock or your portfolio,
That's
like
Wow.
that's what they're doing. And I'm like, ooh, that's why when I found out that that's what they were doing, I thought that's one of the best and yet scariest things to invest into because I mean, I am pro AI and I am against AI.
mhm.
Depends on where it's being used. But when it comes to the stock market, human emotion can be one of the biggest obstacles.
Mm-hmm. That's it. I keep looking at Chris's PowerPoint from when you were in college, and it says behavioral finance and the psychology of investing, and so I'm looking through it. It's like, yeah, we are emotional. We make all of our decisions based on our emotions. We
Yep.
vote for
Mhm.
our leaders, our political leaders, based on emotions. Um, so we also just our comments, everything we do on the internet is really impulsive.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate conversations like this that help to even it out or balance it between emotion and reason and intuition and logic.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
most like when you look at if you're looking to invest into a company, it's if you're looking at these bigger companies that are worth a few $1 billion, you kind of know that you don't need to worry about their financials. And then just trust the feeling. Like my portfolio, like with COVID, I've moved towards investing into a company like Pinterest that promotes the creative.
Mm.
I love
And like, where are we going to be moving towards? Like, and where are we going to be moving towards? And where would I like to see society move towards?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
There are yeah, there are companies established out there that, yes, they may go up and down and it's a risk playing, but
Mm.
you're going to be fine. And in the year, over a year, everything typically goes up. But just like knowing and like there's a lot of uncertainty, but within this uncertainty, like look at how much we're doing online. Okay, so we notice in our life we're now doing things online. Let's invest in the things online that are going to help influence
Yeah,
society.
for the better. Yeah.
Like Amazon is very controversial with people. it's very controversial, but like, and also believe what you want about COVID. I'm not like looking to open that up, but like Amazon helped out the COVID. Like it helped make it easier for people to stay home.
And COVID helped out the
Yeah.
Amazon.
So
Yeah.
that's what I mean. That's what I
Very
mean. Like
mutual.
that's why I mean, like, we can't look at that, like, what do we believe the COVID is? Because when it, like, on the society scale, like, this helped out society. Even if it may, like, even if we see what is going on,
Mhm.
this, like,
So,
helped out.
so it's being realistic about, okay, this is where we are now. We're
Mhm.
all online now, and we probably will be for years to come because this isn't, we're not going back to normal
Mhm.
anytime soon.
No.
We're this, yeah.
Yeah.
Try not to get into it, but
Yeah, no, that it's, and we have to remain that not into it
Yeah.
because, like, this is what's on now. This is
this is
it.
the now.
Like,
Honestly, like yesterday, when was it? I think it was Wednesday when I was having a conversation with two of my friends. I I I went through my own experience where when I was working at the bank and the last year when I was working at the bank, what they started doing, introducing was every customer that comes in, it was our job to help them to learn how to use the bank machine to pay for their bills and put the money, put deposits in. And then we had the introduction of you can take a picture of your check and you deposit that. So we had to teach every customer to do that, which is great, right? And then teach the customer that comes to, and this is everyone that comes in, right? And then help them, oh, let me help you to pay your bills online through your phone. So, which was all great and dandy. But I started to realize within that first day, oh my God, what they're doing is they're making us get rid of our own jobs.
Yep.
They don't need us. Guess what happened a year later? Most of the frontliners, exactly, they were gone. Okay. And of course, some of them were able to find a job within, but most did not. They were just let go because the position was eliminated. And that kind of thing is allowed. That's everywhere, right? I mean, a lot of people lost their jobs with COVID because the position was eliminated. Um, and then, so the people that weren't able to find a new job, they figured it out on their own. And then if we take what happened then with my experience and I apply it to what's happening with COVID, people were forced to go online, to go virtual, to figure things out. Every single individual was forced to do that, to embrace the future, which is we're all connected through these devices, right? So some people have figured it out and some are still figuring it out of what they can do and how they can become financially stable, at least first. That's their goal, and then financial wealthy. But my my challenge to those that are watching, listening, is if your goal is to be financially stable, I ask you to challenge yourself to reach higher. And here's a quote that can perhaps help you. I can't remember who said this quote. I'm sure most of you already heard it. And it goes something like this: aim for the moon, because if you miss, you will at least land among the stars.
Hey.
So aim higher. How Grant Cardone says, 10x your dreams, 10x your goals. If you just want to be stable financially, aim much higher, like 10x whatever that you are going for, because you will end up landing somewhere in between.
I love that. I think that's the perfect energy to start wrapping up. I know you've got to get going. So I thought we could wrap up every week. Since you mentioned Deepak Chopra, we could start with A. So this is the book Creating Affluence, Wealth Consciousness in the Field of All Possibilities by Deepak Chopra. And it goes alphabetically. So we can start with A. I just also want to read the note from Deepak. So it's a note from the author. The material in this book is extremely concentrated and has to be literally metabolized and experienced in the consciousness of the reader. So as we talk all the time, the molecular level.
Yeah.
For best results, I suggest that you read the entire book once and subsequently read 5 pages on a daily basis, which we'll just read once a week, go letter by letter. But make this a lifelong habit, and wealth in all its forms will follow you wherever you go. So, starting with A. Wait, is that A? No.
No.
Okay. So, A. A stands for all possibilities, absolute authority, affluence, abundance, and then we added autonomy. The true nature of our ground state and that of the universe is that it is a field of all possibilities. In our most primordial form, we are a field of all possibilities. From this level, it is possible to create anything. This field is our own essential nature. It is our inner self. It is also called the absolute, and it is the ultimate authority. It is intrinsically affluent because it gives rise to the infinite diversity and abundance of the universe.
I love that.
So with that was A. So I want to thank you both so much. You both fill me with energy. Our relationships, that's my abundance. It really is. So thank you.
Yeah. It was really nice meeting you, Yana. Like, I feel really connected with you.
Yeah.
Like, it's really lovely to have this rapport the first time we talk.
Yeah.
I feel like I've known you since Rachel got to know you. Even before you guys got together, I heard a little bit here and there, little snippets. So I feel like I know you fairly well as well. And I just gotta say, I love seeing you guys together. Like, honestly, you guys look like a perfect couple, even though perfection doesn't exist. If it did, you guys are so adorable together, so cute.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Chris is 6'5" and I'm 5'2", like you and James.
Yeah. Well, I'm 5'1". My husband is 6'5", so I'm a little bit shorter. Yeah, I always like to say good things come in small packages.
And big packages.
I mean, I was made fun of as being the shorty my whole entire life, and it never really bothered me until everywhere I went, even as an adult, even now when I go to my kids' school, I'm shorter than the kids at school. And this is like grade 8, and I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna think I'm one of them. So maybe I should just dress as one of them. They won't even know, infiltrate the kids.
Yeah. Yes.
Think about tiny work.
That's like, I mean, that's what I love that you say infiltrate. That's what we're doing. We're infiltrating Wall Street, infiltrating the school, infiltrating anything that reeks of industrialization.
Yeah.
Bringing it back. It's like we talk about human permaculture. One of our friends, Rachel, who's Ganjasana, like her website's Ganjasana, check it out, everyone who's watching.
Nice.
But she teaches me a lot about permaculture. And basically it's going into where the land needs love and regenerating it, fertilizing the soil, making it healthy. And so I feel like that's what we're doing. We're going into Wall Street, practicing permaculture there, going into schools, permaculture there, going into people's hearts, doing a little permaculture. Like that's what we do. Like the 3 of us are all coaches. So if anyone wants to work with us, your money stories or anything, that's what we do. We're permaculturists for the spirit. Yeah. Yeah.
That was perfect. Slide that in there. The coaches come work with us.
Yeah.
I love
No,
that.
come work with us. Let's
Way to be.
elevate
Way to
elevate
be.
the spirit.
Way to
you
be.
know?
Way to be.
Yeah.
Way to advocate.
Thanks.
Yeah, way to fucking
Yeah.
be.
And that's exactly what we were responding to with that comment that Chris, you read. Where do I invest? Yourself first and foremost, because knowledge is the new currency.
Oh.
You know, the more you can earn, and then that glass ceiling is no more.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't invest in yourself and you're investing into everything else, then that perhaps might not grow as much if you start with yourself first and then you invest in everywhere else from the abundance. Right? That Rachel likes to talk about the overflow of a cup. You fill your cup first, and then from the overflow, that is where you give and you invest from the overflow.
Well, thank
Love
you
it.
for overflowing my cup this morning.
Oh, you're welcome.
I needed it.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Sweet.
So I'm just going to
Until next
Sure.
week.
Really quickly, we're all saying bye.
Hi.
So she wants to come say
Oh.
bye. She's been hovering
Hi,
over here.
Mila.
Hi, Rachel.
Thanks for joining today.
And that's Chris, that's her boyfriend. You can say hi to.
Hi.
Hello.
This is Mila. She's been our soul sister since the beginning. Every time we have these chats, Mila's been checking it out.
Yeah.
And I hope we inspire you, Mila.
Yeah.
Has been half an hour.
Yeah, it's been half an hour. We're just wrapping up. We're just saying bye now and saying thank you, thank you, thank you. This
I'm
was
level
awesome.
97.
Very good, Mila. In the game. You're not supposed to be playing. Anyways, thank you, guys. This was absolutely awesome for me.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear from anyone that's watching. Biggest takeaway from the whole entire thing.
Chris ended the live stream, so we'll
Okay,
add
well,
that.
that's fine. We still have I don't know about you, but I'm recording it so that way
Oh, cool.
those that are watching and recording, they can tell us,
Cool.
right? What
on.
the biggest takeaway was.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Peace
Much
out.
love.
Yes. Peace. Bye.
He's in the middle.